Rain pattered softly against the bay window of the living room in the semi-detached house on Pembroke Road, Westbury Park. Inside, 20-year-old Hira adjusted the ring light on her tripod, smoothed down the sleeves of her blush-pink cashmere blend hoodie, and pressed record. "Hey lovelies," she murmured into her phone, voice honeyed with practiced warmth. "Just treating myself after a long shift at the cafe. Self-care isn't selfish, it's survival." The camera panned to her feet, where a pair of pristine, limited edition sneakers retail price, £120, rested beside a mug of oat milk latte. Behind her, fairy lights twinkled against white linen curtains, and a neatly stacked shelf of pastel books completed the quiet luxury aesthetic she'd perfected over the past year. But just down the hall, in the cramped kitchen, reality looked different. Her mother, Amina, stood at the counter in her Navy care assistant uniform, phone pressed to her ear, voice strained. "I understand, Mrs. Davies, but I simply don't have the £45 right now. Karim's boots are falling apart, and the boiler's needed fixing since November." Hira heard the muffled plea through her open door. She paused her recording, but only to check her notifications. 2.4K likes already. She didn't go to the kitchen. Didn't ask what was wrong. Instead, she posted the clip with the caption, "If you're not prioritizing yourself, who will?" Sparkling heart # self-care season. She didn't know Karim had been quietly reusing last year's pencil case, or that he'd skipped his school lunch twice that week to save money for FIFA points. She didn't see the exhaustion in Amina's eyes after double shifts at the care home in Clifton. All she saw was her feed and the growing illusion that her curated comfort was earned, not borrowed from the silence of those who loved her. Dinner that evening was quiet. Karim sat at the small pine table, carefully taping the sole of his worn trainers with grey duct tape. The overhead light flickered, a familiar quirk of their 1930s built home. Outside, the rain had turned steady, drumming against the holly hedge in the front garden. Amina came in from her second shift just after 8 p.m., still in uniform, her coat damp at the shoulders. She hung it on the hook by the back door and poured herself a glass of tap water. "Hira," she said gently, glancing toward the living room where her daughter was scrolling through comments, "did you see Karim's note about the school trip?" Hira didn't look up. "Yeah. He'll figure it out. Everyone's got to learn to hustle, right?" Amina froze. She studied her daughter, the designer joggers, the glossy hair, the phone that never left her hand. Then she looked at Karim, who kept his eyes down, fingers working silently on the tape. Something inside Amina shifted. Not anger. Something heavier. Grief. "Come to the kitchen," she said, voice low but firm. "Now." Hira sighed dramatically but followed, slipping her phone into her pocket. The kitchen smelled of yesterday's Dale and faint damp from the old pipes. Amina stood by the stove, arms crossed, her work badge still clipped to her tunic. "You filmed a video today," she said. "Not a question." Hira shrugged. "It's just content, Ami. People like it." "People don't live here," Amina replied quietly. "We do." She turned off the kettle. The sudden silence felt louder than words. Amina unclipped her care badge and placed it gently on the counter beside a chipped World's Best Mum mug, a gift from Karim years ago. She took a breath. "You think comfort is a right," she began, voice steady but laced with pain. "But real comfort. It's built on care. On seeing each other. You didn't just buy shoes, Hira. You bought your silence. And that silence made your brother feel invisible. Hira opened her mouth to protest, but Amina held up a hand. So here's your choice, she said. Either you cancel your influencer weekend in London, that £200 you saved for it goes to Karim's trip, and you return those sneakers to the shop tomorrow. Plus, you volunteer at the youth centre in Easton for the next month. Or, she paused, eyes glistening, you pack your bags and find somewhere else to prioritize yourself. Because this home isn't a backdrop for your content. It's real. And if you can't live in that reality, you don't belong here. Then, without another word, Amina switched off the kitchen light. Hira stood in the sudden dimness, illuminated only by the faint glow from the hallway. The ring light in the living room still shone bright, but for the first time, it felt cold, hollow. This wasn't a spanking. Wasn't a paddling. It was something far more precise, the removal of emotional sanctuary. And in that moment, it hit her like a punch to the chest, silent, searing, and utterly deserved. Hira didn't sleep that night. She lay in her perfectly made bed, staring at the ceiling where fairy lights usually cast soft shadows. Now, they mocked her. At 6 a.m., she crept downstairs. The house was quiet except for the hum of the fridge. In the hallway, Karim's trainers sat by the door, duct tape now peeling at the edges. She picked one up. It was light. Worn thin. She remembered him saying, "It's fine, Hira," when she teased him for not having the new football boots all his mates wore. Tears filled her eyes, not performative tears for a confessional video, but real, messy sobs of shame. She wrote a note first. Then, just after sunrise, she knocked on her mother's bedroom door. Amina opened it, hair in a loose bun, wearing an old robe over her nightdress. Hira didn't hold up her phone. Didn't pose. She just stood there, in plain cotton pajamas, eyes red, voice trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I made our home feel like a set. I made Karim feel like his needs were less important than my image. I'll return the shoes. I'll pay for his trip. And I'll start showing up for both of you without filming it." She handed Amina the receipt and handwritten promise, "I'll cover Karim's school expenses this term. No conditions." Amina didn't hug her right away. But she took the note. And for the first time in weeks, she looked at Hira not as a disappointment, but as her daughter again. 6 weeks later, Hira posted a new video. No ring light. No filters. Just her phone propped on the kitchen counter. The footage showed her chopping onions beside Amina, who laughed as Hira sneezed from the fumes. Then Karim walking in, now wearing simple black trainers bought with Hira's cafe wages, and grabbing an apple before heading to the bus stop. The final clip was of them all folding laundry in the small backyard, grey Bristol sky above, steam rising from mugs of tea. The caption read, "Real self-care looks like showing up. Even when no one's watching." The video didn't go viral. It got 847 views. But Amina watched it 3 times. That evening, as they ate dal and rice at the pine table, Karim nudged Hira's arm. "You coming to my geography presentation next week? It's about Bristol's green spaces. Wouldn't miss it," she said, smiling. Outside, the rain had stopped. The holly hedge glistened. Inside, the overhead light still flickered, but no one minded. Hyra hadn't fixed everything, but she was finally home. Not in the aesthetic, not in the feed, but in the quiet, unfiltered truth of love that asks for nothing but presence. And in their leafy corner of Westbury Park, that was more than enough.